There I was standing in the middle of my ex-girlfriend's family reunion, holding hands with her younger sister. Megan, the woman who shattered my heart 6 months ago, stared at us with disbelief painted across her face. Her glass of wine slipped from her fingers and crashed onto the patio floor. I remember thinking how strange life can be. Just half a year earlier, Megan had dumped me without warning. Then she came crawling back with an offer that made my blood boil. And what happened next? Well, let me tell you how karma works in the most unexpected ways. Before I get into how I ended up dating my ex's sister, I want to know where you are watching from tonight. Drop your location in the comments below. And if you have ever had an ex come crawling back with a ridiculous offer, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you want to see how this family reunion turned into the most satisfying moment of my life. Trust me, you do not want to miss what Megan's face looked like when she realized what was happening. Now let me take you back to where this whole mess started. It was a cold February evening when everything I believed about love came crashing down. But before I tell you about that night, let me take you back to the beginning, to a time when I genuinely believed Megan was the one. I met her at a coffee shop in Portland, Oregon, about 2.5 years ago. I was a software engineer working for a tech startup downtown, and she worked at a marketing firm just a few blocks from my office. Our first encounter was something out of a romantic comedy. She was rushing to grab her order, turned around too quickly, and spilled her entire espresso all over my white shirt. I remember the warmth of the coffee soaking through the fabric, the smell of roasted beans, and the way sunlight streamed through the window behind her. She was mortified, apologizing over and over, dabbing at my chest with napkins. But I just laughed. Something about her flustered expression made me smile. We exchanged numbers that afternoon, and by the weekend we were on our first date. For 2 years, things were beautiful. We took road trips along the Oregon coast, watching the waves crash against the rocks at Cannon Beach. She attempted to cook dinner for me once, a pasta dish that ended up burnt beyond recognition. But we laughed about it and ordered pizza instead. I met her family early on. Her mother, Linda, welcomed me with open arms, telling me over Thanksgiving dinner. Finally, Megan found someone decent. Her father, Gary, was a quiet man, but he gave me a firm handshake and a nod of approval. I started thinking about the future. I even looked at engagement rings, imagining how I would propose, where we would live, what our life together would look like. But looking back now, there were signs I should have noticed. Megan started texting late at night, claiming it was just work stuff. There were phone calls she had to step outside to answer conversations I was never allowed to hear. She began making comments comparing me to others. "Why can't you be more ambitious?" she would ask. "Why don't you take me somewhere exciting?" For once I brushed it all aside. I trusted her completely. That was my mistake. The night everything fell apart was supposed to be special. It was our 2-year anniversary. I had prepared a candlelit dinner at my apartment, bought roses, put on soft jazz music in the background. I spent hours cooking her favorite meal, setting the table perfectly, making sure every detail was right. But Megan came home late. She walked through the door, still wearing her coat, barely glancing at the setup. "What is all this?" she asked, sounding more annoyed than pleased. "It is our anniversary," I said, trying to keep the disappointment out of my voice. 2 years today. She stared at me blankly. She had forgotten. That was when she said the words I never expected. "Trent, we need to talk. I don't feel the spark anymore." I stood there, frozen, a plate of food in my hand, as she continued. "I need someone who challenges me, who excites me. You are stable, but that is not enough." "Is there someone else?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "No," she said, but her eyes told a different story. She packed her things that night. I watched her move around the apartment we had shared, stuffing clothes into a bag, taking photographs off the wall. The candles burned down to nothing. The food grew cold on the table. And then she was gone, leaving me alone with the echo of a door closing. The weeks that followed were brutal. I tried reaching out to her, but she blocked my number. I told myself it was for the best, that maybe she just needed space. But then, I saw the photos on social media. Megan smiling brightly wrapped in the arms of a man named Brandon. They were in Cancun, sipping cocktails on a beach, looking like they had been together for months. The pictures were posted just 2 weeks after she left me. That was when I realized the truth. She had been cheating on me the entire time. I thought that was the end of the story. I was wrong. 3 months later, Megan showed up at my door with an offer that made my blood boil. By May, I was finally starting to pick up the pieces. I threw myself into work, spent more time at the gym, reconnected with old friends. The pain was still there, but it had dulled into something manageable. I was healing, or at least trying to. Then one Saturday night around 9 in the evening, my doorbell rang. I was not expecting anyone. When I opened the door, my stomach dropped. It was Megan. She stood there in a tight dress, makeup done up like she was heading to a nightclub, perfume strong enough to fill the entire hallway. "Hey, Trent," she said, her voice softer than I remembered. "Can I come in?" Against my better judgment, I stepped aside. She walked in looking around the apartment like she still belonged there. "Nice place," she said. "You changed the furniture. What do you want, Megan?" She turned to face me, and there was something in her eyes I had not seen before. Vulnerability, maybe. Or perhaps it was just desperation, wearing a clever mask. "I miss you," she said. "I miss us." I almost laughed. "You have a boyfriend." I saw the pictures. "Brandon, right?" Cancun looked fun. She waved her hand dismissively. "Brandon is different. He is exciting, sure, but he is not stable. Not like you. So what are you saying?" She stepped closer, reaching out to touch my arm. "I was thinking maybe we could have the best of both worlds. You know, friends with benefits. No strings attached. Brandon doesn't have to know." I stared at her, trying to process what she was suggesting. She wanted to keep Brandon for the thrill, the vacations, the excitement. And she wanted to keep me on the side for comfort, for stability, for those nights when Brandon was not available. I was supposed to be her backup plan, her safety net. "Let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You want to cheat on your boyfriend with me the same way you cheated on me with him." "It is not like that," she protested. "I care about you, Trent. I always did. You dumped me on our anniversary. You forgot our anniversary even existed. You were sleeping with him while telling me you loved me. People make mistakes. This is not a mistake, Megan. This is who you are." Her expression changed, the softness, replaced by something harder. "You will regret this. You think you can do better than me. Good luck with that. Get out," I said, walking to the door and holding it open. "And do not come back." She grabbed her purse and stormed past me. At the threshold, she turned one last time. "You are going to be alone forever, Trent. No one will ever want you the way I did." The door closed behind her, and I stood there in the silence, heart pounding. But it was not from sadness. It was relief. I had finally seen her for who she truly was. I called my best friend Derek that night. We had known each other since college, and he always had a way of putting things into perspective. She did what he shouted through the phone. "Bro, she is insane. You dodged a bullet. Actually, you dodged an entire magazine." I laughed for the first time in months. 2 weeks later, I was at my usual coffee shop, the same one where I had first met Megan. I was reading emails on my phone when I noticed a woman sitting alone at a corner table. She had a medical textbook open in front of her, a highlighter in her hand, completely absorbed in her studies. There was something familiar about her. Then it clicked. It was Brooke, Megan's younger sister. I had met Brooke a handful of times at family gatherings over the years, but we had never really talked. She was always quiet, keeping to herself, while Megan dominated every conversation. She was 3 years younger than Megan, working as a nurse at a local hospital. She looked up and caught me staring. Recognition flickered across her face. "Trent," she said. "Megan's ex." "That is me," I replied awkwardly. "Sorry, I didn't mean to stare. I just recognized you." She smiled, and it was nothing like Megan's smile. There was warmth in it, something genuine. "No worries. Want to sit?" I hesitated, but something made me walk over. We started talking, and I expected it to be awkward, but it was not. We talked about her work, about the challenges of nursing, about the book she was studying. 2 hours passed like minutes. Then she surprised me. "I know what Megan did to you." She told me everything. The cheating the friends with benefits offer. I was disgusted. I blinked. "She told you about that?" "She bragged about it." Brooke said, her jaw tightening, like it was some kind of power move. "I told her she was wrong. We had a huge argument about it." She paused, then added quietly, "I am so sorry, Trent. You deserved better." When we got up to leave, she insisted on paying for my coffee. "Consider it an apology for my sister's behavior," she said with a small smile. We exchanged numbers that day. A week later, we went for a walk along the Willamette River. The following week, she cooked dinner for me at her apartment. A delicious chicken piccata that was nothing like Megan's burnt disasters. On our third date, I opened up about everything I had been through, and Brooke listened without judgment, without trying to fix me, just present and understanding. I realized I was falling for her. Not as revenge against Megan, not as some twisted way to get back at my ex. I was falling for Brooke because she was kind, genuine, and completely different from her sister. One evening, as we sat on her balcony watching the sunset, she turned to me and said, "I am not my sister, Trent, and I would never treat you the way she did." For 4 months, we kept our relationship secret. Brooke was not ready to face the inevitable drama with her family. I respected her decision, but secrets have a way of coming out, especially at family reunions. And Megan's reaction, it was beyond anything I could have imagined. September arrived, and with it came the annual Labor Day barbecue at Linda and Gary's house. It was a tradition in Brooke's family, a time when aunts, uncles, cousins, and old friends gathered to celebrate the end of summer. Brooke had been dreading it for weeks, but finally she made a decision. "It is time," she said to me the night before. "I want everyone to know about us. I am tired of hiding." "Are you sure?" I asked. "Once we walk in there together, there is no going back." She squeezed my hand. I have never been more sure of anything. We arrived at the house around 2 in the afternoon. The backyard was already filled with people, the smell of Gary's famous ribs wafting through the air. Children ran around on the lawn while adults gathered in small groups, drinks in hand. Linda was the first to spot us. Her eyes went wide when she saw us walking toward her, my hand firmly clasped in Brooke's. "Trent," she said, almost dropping her glass of lemonade, "we have missed you, and you are here with Brooke." Brooke took a deep breath. "Mom, Trent, and I have been dating for 4 months." There was a moment of stunned silence. Then Gary appeared beside his wife, looking at us with an unreadable expression. Finally, he nodded slowly, and a rare smile crossed his face. "Good man," he said, clapping me on the shoulder. "Welcome back to the family." Linda hugged us, both tears in her eyes. "I always thought you were too good for Megan," she whispered to me. I just never said it out loud. For the next hour, everything was perfect. We mingled with relatives, answered questions about how we got together, and accepted congratulations from people who seemed genuinely happy for us. I started to relax, thinking maybe this would all go smoothly. Then Megan arrived. She walked through the back gate with Brandon on her arm, fashionably late as always. She was wearing an expensive dress, designer sunglasses pushed up on her head, looking like she expected everyone to stop and admire her. She made a beeline for a group of cousins, immediately launching into a story about her latest vacation to Miami. She had not seen us yet. I felt Brooke tense beside me. "Do you want to go somewhere else?" I asked quietly. "No," she said, lifting her chin. "We are not hiding anymore." A few minutes later, Megan turned around to look for a waiter, and that was when her eyes landed on us. On me and Brooke, holding hands, standing together as a couple. The color drained from her face. Her wine glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the stone patio. The sound made everyone turn to look. "What the hell is this?" Megan's voice cut through the chatter like a knife. Brooke stepped forward, calm and composed. "Megan, Trent and I are together. I was going to tell you privately, but here we are." Megan's eyes darted between us, her expression twisting with fury. She turned to me, her voice rising. "You are dating my sister. To get back at me. Is this some kind of sick revenge?" I kept my voice steady. "This has nothing to do with you, Megan. I love Brooke, not to hurt you, because she is an amazing person. She is my sister." Megan screamed. "This is betrayal. How could you do this to me? How could I do this to you?" I repeated, almost laughing at the absurdity. "You cheated on me. You dumped me. You came to my apartment and offered to be my side piece while dating Brandon. And now you are the victim." The entire backyard had gone silent. Every eye was on us. Megan spun toward Brandon, grabbing his arm. "Say something. He is stealing my sister." But Brandon was looking at her with a strange expression. "Wait," he said slowly. "This is your ex, the boring loser you always complained about." Megan froze. "I never said that." "You did," Brandon continued. "Multiple times. You called him pathetic. You said he was too clingy, too boring, too easy." He paused, pieces clicking together in his mind. "And you offered him friends with benefits. While you were dating me, I can explain." Megan stammered. Linda stepped forward, her voice icy. "Megan, you did what Brooke answered before Megan could. She went to Trent's apartment after they broke up and offered to be his side piece. She wanted to keep Brandon for fun and use Trent for stability." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Aunts whispered to uncles. Cousins exchanged horrified looks. Gary shook his head slowly. Disappointment carved into every line of his face. "I raised you better than this, Megan," he said quietly. And those words seemed to cut her deeper than any shout could have. Brandon pulled away from her. "I cannot believe this. You lied to me about everything. Brandon, please." Megan reached for him. "It was a mistake. I was confused." "We are done," he said flatly. "I do not date liars." He turned and walked out of the backyard without looking back. Megan stood alone in the middle of the party, mascara beginning to run down her cheeks. Everyone was looking at her, but not with sympathy. With disappointment, with judgment. She had built her image as the perfect daughter, the successful girlfriend, the woman who had it all. And now, that image lay shattered at her feet, alongside the broken wine glass. She turned to Brooke one last time. "You stole him from me." Brooke shook her head. "I did not steal anyone. You threw him away. I just recognized what you were too blind to see." Megan stormed out of the party alone, humiliated tears streaming down her face. And me, I did not feel victorious. I did not gloat or celebrate. I simply turned to Brooke and said, "Let us get some food." We spent the rest of the evening laughing, eating Gary's legendary ribs, and enjoying the warmth of a family that had accepted me back without hesitation. Linda came over at one point and hugged me tightly. "I am so sorry for what she put you through," she said. "It is okay, Mrs. Linda," I replied. "Everything happened for a reason." The months that followed the reunion were some of the happiest of my life. Brooke and I no longer had to hide. We went on dates without looking over our shoulders, posted photos without fear of drama, and slowly built a life together. Of course, the healing did not happen overnight. There were moments when old wounds resurfaced, when I wondered if Brooke might one day hurt me the way her sister did. But every time those doubts crept in, Brooke was there, with patience and understanding. She never pushed me to move faster than I was ready. She never made me feel like my fears were irrational. She simply loved me consistently and genuinely, until trust grew where doubt used to live. Derek noticed the change in me one evening when we met for beers. "You look different, man," he said. "Happier. Like actually happy, not just pretending." I smiled. "I think I finally am." Megan, according to Brooke, had a rough few months after the reunion. She lost Brandon, obviously. Many of her friends distanced themselves once word got around about what she had done. She eventually started seeing a therapist, which I supposed was a positive step. But honestly, I did not think about her much anymore. She was part of my past, and that was where she belonged. Brooke and I adopted a dog, a scruffy mutt from the local shelter that we named Biscuit. She taught me how to cook properly, and Sunday mornings became our sacred time for pancakes, coffee, and lazy reading sessions on the couch. There was no drama, no games, no wondering where I stood. Just two people who chose each other every single day. Looking back, I learned some things I want to share with you. First, about self-respect. When Megan offered me that friends with benefits arrangement, she expected me to say yes. She thought I was desperate enough to accept crumbs from her table. But saying no was the best decision I ever made. Self-respect is not about arrogance. It is about knowing your worth and refusing to accept anything less than you deserve. Second, about karma. I did not plan any of this. I did not pursue Brooke to get revenge on Megan. Life just has a way of balancing things out when you least expect it. Karma is not always about punishment. Sometimes it is about redirection. It leads you away from what hurts you and toward where you were meant to be all along. Third, about love. With Megan, I was always trying to be enough. I changed myself, compromised my needs, walked on eggshells to keep her happy. With Brooke, I do not have to be anyone but myself. Real love does not make you question your worth. It reminds you of it every single day. And finally, about forgiveness. I do not hate Megan anymore. Hating her would mean she still had power over me. Forgiveness is not about letting someone off the hook for what they did. It is about freeing yourself from the weight of carrying that anger. It has been a little over a year since that family reunion. Brooke and I are still together, stronger than ever. I have been thinking about the future again, about rings and proposals. But this time, with the right person, life is peaceful now. Simple, but filled with more meaning than I ever imagined possible. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us turn out to be the best things in disguise. Megan breaking my heart led me to Brooke. Her insulting offer of friends with benefits showed me exactly what I deserved and what I absolutely did not. So if you are going through something similar right now, if someone has shattered your heart and expects you to accept less than you are worth, remember this. You are not a backup plan. You are not a safety net. You are not someone's second choice when their first option falls through. You deserve to be someone's first choice, their only choice, the person they are grateful to wake up next to every morning. And sometimes the universe has a sense of humor. It gives you the sister instead. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had karma work out in your favor? Have you ever walked away from someone who did not value you, only to find something better waiting on the other side? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one, and I love hearing how you all have overcome your own challenges. If this story touched you in any way, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear it today.